Building a house sounds exciting, but the process can oftentimes be extremely overwhelming. So today, I'm going to take a few moments and I want to walk you through the process of what it looks like to buy a new construction home in 2025-2026. Whether you're working with Boscraft or Eagle Creek or Allen Edwin or any of the multiple home builders out here in West Michigan, oftentimes the process has very, very similar steps. And if you're building a custom home, the steps might be a lot like this, but maybe a few differences. Let's take a moment, let's dive in and see what the difference and see what those steps are right now. Step one, as we start to look at this process, is very important. It's getting your financing in order. Whether it's just simply getting pre-approved for an end loan and securing your down payment, or if you're going and looking into a construction loan and beginning to understand the draw system, either way, getting your finances prepared is definitely a great way to start the process. This lets you know how much money you're going to lay out as you go through each step of the process, and it puts you in the position to understand what you can and can't do when it comes to your budgeting. Having a firm understanding of A, the cost of the money you're buying, and B, how much money you can actually afford to borrow in this process is important, because as you start to go through this, for a lot of people, upgrades become an add-on as they look at the things they want in their house, and sometimes it doesn't take long for that budget to get completely out of whack. So we want to start in the beginning knowing how many dollars is going to equal how much per month, and have a firm understanding of how much money is going to come out of pocket at closing. Now again, if you're looking at a construction loan, this might be one where you're not even putting money down, but you're going through the process as you take out draws in each step of completion in the home. Either way, we want to make sure we're prepared with the bank and that we're financially ready to start this process. Number two, you are going to want to choose your builder and start to choose your floor plan. Whether it's a custom or if you're buying a spec home, this is the part where we want to start to make some decisions. If your choice is a custom home, then we might be starting the process with the construction loan and starting to go through what is going to be the right architect and design for you going forward. If you're buying a spec home, you might be coming in here and you might be saying, hey, here's the available inventory. These are the floor plans you have to choose from. Here is the completion date for each home. Or if you're going to the builder and you're going to be selecting a lot and selecting a model, this is a time where we get to start to decide which of the floor plans that the builders offer can go ahead and make sense for you and your family. And then again, when we are in this process, will that builder just simply cover the cost and sell it to you on an end loan? Or we have to determine if we need a construction loan that converts to a 30-year fixed at the end of its term, or maybe a 15-year fixed, whatever it is that you're focused on. Of course, if you're interested in adjustable rate mortgages, that would be available too. That being said, if I'm your realtor through this process, I'm going to highly suggest against it for a lot of different reasons. If you've ever had a bad experience with an adjustable rate, shout it out in the comments below. Let me hear about some of your nightmare scenarios that you may have gone through in that part of financing. Number three, select the lot. If we've gone ahead and we have selected the floor plan that you like, one of the things that can definitely start to change the cost is what lot does it go on? Is it a lot that has a walkout? Because that can absolutely change the price. Is it maybe a daylight basement? Is it a bigger lot that backs up to the woods? Because there might be a premium for that lot with privacy. Or are you looking at one of maybe the waterfront lots that might be in certain subdivisions? Each one of these is going to be a different experience and can carry a different cost. So after making the selection on floor plan, selecting the lot is probably one of the most important selections that we can make. As far as lifestyle and the things you're going to love about the home and living there, and as far as cost goes, lots can vary even up to $60,000 to $70,000 within the same subdivision, depending on the size differences and the locations and features within the sub. A basic lot towards the front of the sub might have a much lower price tag than something that is more private in the back of the sub, a little bit larger, and has had what they call a bench carved into the land, so it's more suitable for a walkout basement. Add a water feature like a pond, a river, or a lake to that, and you could be looking at a very drastic difference between those two lots, even though they might be in the exact same sub. Number 4, design and upgrades. With a lot of the builders that we deal with, one of the next steps is going to oftentimes their design studio, where you get to pick a lot of the details for the floor plan that you've already chosen at this phase. You can pick typically cabinet color and cabinet grade. What do I mean by that? Well, not all cabinets are going to have the same cost. Some of this may vary just based on the manufacturer, and some of it might vary based on what material the cabinets are made of. If you're looking at basic white cabinets, you might have one price, but as you start to upgrade to maybe a maple or a hickory or another exotic wood, that can absolutely start to raise the base price of those cabinets right out of the gate. Now, if we're starting to add features such as soft closed drawers and soft closed doors, or maybe in countertop, we're looking at different levels of countertop, all the way from Formica to granite to quartz to even some of the fancy concrete finishes that are being used on countertop today. Each one of those is absolutely going to carry a different cost. When they quote you on what your floor plan is going to be and add it to your lot, that's often figuring on the very basic of finishes. If you wanted upgrade flooring to something that just more suits your liking or is a higher quality, or upgraded cabinets, or upgraded countertops, or upgraded sink bases in the bathroom, or maybe you want to go from a plastic tub surround into a full ceramic tile tub surround, each of these is going to be considered its own separate upgrade and carry an upgrade charge that goes with it. So this is a point at the design center when we really want to start to make a decision between what are our must-haves and what are our kind of would-be nice type of selections, and ultimately come to a meeting of the minds on what makes sense for the upgrades you want to have as well as the budget. One of the things that we always have to be careful of if we are using a mortgage to purchase this house is oftentimes selecting a lot of upgrades, even if you're totally okay with the price, can cause the home to not appraise based on its square footage. So if we pick one of the smaller homes and we put in all the upgrades from the builder, there's a chance that we might have so many upgrades and driven the cost so high that the home actually doesn't appraise. Now, at that stage, you're going to be expected to cover the difference in cash. If you're prepared, that's not a problem. However, if your goal was to roll it into the financing and the bank says, hold on, you're paying too much for this home, it could absolutely become a problem, and we want to start to decide from there what are the must-haves and what are the would-be-nice type of selections in this process. The great news is there's a lot of selections, so if something is very important for you, there's a good chance that we can find an upgrade offered by the builder that's going to make it more your dream home than the basic model. Just want to be cautious on adding up those costs. Step 5 is the construction phase. This is where the builder goes to work and starts bringing in the subcontractors. They're laying the foundation, they're framing the house, they're installing the windows, they're putting in the rough plumbing, they're putting in the rough electrical, they're putting in the ductwork for the heating, cooling, and ventilation system within the home. From here, we're typically looking at insulation and then drywall. Once the house is a drywall shell, of course, we're looking also at the outside. The roof is going to be on typically at this phase. A lot of times the siding is on or going on. If there's stonework or masonry on the exterior of the home, this is also typically the phase it's being worked on simultaneously to the carpenters, to the plumbers, to the electricians that are doing the rough-in inside. Once we're at this point, we're typically going to see drywall finish, trim and flooring starting to go in, of course paint before that, and then of course we'll start to see cabinets, countertops, tile backsplashes, the tub inserts, all of those different pieces. Eventually finishing with a lot of the molding the handrails, the fireplace mantles, a lot of the small detail work that begins to go into the house at this phase. Now, if you did this on a construction loan, typically there's going to be draw points where you're going to want to get back involved and tell the bank, yes, they've gotten to this phase, give them the next chunk of money on the construction loan so they can continue working forward on the home. With a lot of our bigger builders, this just simply isn't the case. They front the entire cost of construction and then simply you purchase it with a mortgage at the end of the building phase. Really, in this one, it just depends on the builder you choose and how their business operates. Number 6, and one of the favorite parts for most people, it's the final walkthrough and the closing. And I will tell you, this is absolutely an important part because the final walkthrough can oftentimes be extremely overwhelming. It's really good to have an extra set of eyes or someone with you as you go through the home the final time with the builder's rep and you're looking for any flaws, anything that you might not be happy with. A lot of times they call this a blue tape inspection because someone is walking around with the low stick blue painter's tape, sticking it on every place that we found a flaw in the home. Now, let me set a little expectation here. There is absolutely no such thing as the perfect home. And I don't care if you're spending in the high threes or up to $2 to $3 million. It doesn't matter the price range. There's still no perfect home out there. However, there are higher quality of workmanship on some homes versus the other. And this is exactly what this final walkthrough phase exists for. We want to make sure that we're looking for flaws in workmanship or even defects in the materials because this is our really last chance to call them out for the builder. Let me say this, a lot of builders will warranty the home for a year and they will do a final walkthrough with you a year later looking for any of those flaws that were either missed or maybe was shifting in movement within that time. This all depends on the policy of the builder that you're dealing with, and so it's really important to have a good idea of what their process looks like as you start to go through this phase of construction. Why does it matter? Because after closing, you'll have paid them all the money, and for the most part, it becomes a little bit harder to get the builder to do some of the repairs and things you want at this stage, especially if we didn't call them out before we made that final payment at the closing. This is one where it can be really important to have a good realtor to help you go through this process and identify the things that you absolutely should be asking the builder to take care of before the closing. You know, as a local agent, I have helped a lot of families go through this process, and it's really extremely helpful to have somebody who is familiar and helping you go through the strategic process of putting together a home that you're absolutely going to love long term and is really made the selections and chosen exactly for what you like and sometimes even don't like as you go through this process. And so you want to make sure you have somebody on your side that is really going to help lay out what all your options are. And keep in mind, the builder's rep works for the builder, and they're not always looking out for your best interest, and that's why it oftentimes makes sense to have a top realtor in the area that has experience in this process. If you've been thinking about making a move, if you've been thinking about coming to West Michigan and looking at new construction, reach out to me. I've been a realtor for 25 years and I've really loved the process of new construction, and I'd like to help guide you to find the perfect home. My contact information is in the description below. And if you found value in this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you can see all the new information we're getting about new construction as well as our local area here in West Michigan. I'll see you guys on the next video.